The Godfather.
This that. This that. This that jumpin', yeah. This that jumpin', start like 23. This that jumpin', 2-4 like Kobe. This that jumpin', shoot my shot, then beat. This that jumpin', right around all of my trees. This that jumpin', start like 23. This that jumpin', 2-4 like Kobe. This that jumpin', shoot my shot, then beat. This that jumpin', right around all of my dreams. I be ballin' in music like Kobe. I'm the greatest to ever do it, they don't know it. Straight from the streets where the shots came blowin'. I came from the bottom where they hate to see you blow. Mama always told me I'm a shine, so I glow. I came from the block where I stood 10 toes. Came a long way, now I'm on the top floor.
What's up, everybody? It's Friday night. Welcome to Turtles Take. It's me, Vince Mucci, along with Andrew Tarble. We'd like to thank everyone that joined us last week. We had a hell of a show to start. Andrew, I don't know what you thought about it, but I thought it was a great show.
Oh, absolutely. Good, strong start. Looking forward to what we have on deck this week to talk about. Why don't you let our viewers know what we have going tonight, Vince?
So for those of us who joined us last week, we had a little bit of technical difficulties with Derrick Ross, but he's going to go ahead and join us again tonight. For those of you who missed last week, he's a former Kansas City Chief, CFL standout, NFL Europe standout, and an AFL all-time leading rusher, not to mention a college football Hall of Famer. So he's going to join us tonight. Maybe we'll get a little more of that story that we missed out on last week.
Oh, absolutely.
We got all the topics. It's been one hell of a week since last Friday. A lot's gone down. There's a lot of Russell Wilson talk. Sports books are starting to take them off their list. You can't even put bets on them right now. Everybody's waiting to see what's going to happen. A lot of other Bears stuff going on and other football stuff from around the league too. Not to mention we're going to cover some baseball. Got spring training on both sides of town. Some basketball. Bulls are starting the second half run here after the All-Star break. And the Hawks making that run towards the playoffs. So it should be a good show.
Absolutely, yeah. Baseball's starting to come to fruition. We're starting to see some guys consistently, especially out of the Sox pen, you're starting to see some consistency. So it'll be fun.
I'll tell you what, I'm a Cubs fan, but that Sox bullpen, that might be the best bullpen in baseball. When you got guys like Crotchet and Kopech and Bummer that all lead to Hendricks, that's tough. You get that to the sixth inning, you might not see another hit the rest of the game.
They definitely have a tough bullpen on that side of town. I'm a Cubs fan as well, but got a lot of family that's Sox fans, and of course, keep up on them. And just Kopech, I think he's got a really big ceiling this year. I think that he's going to be in that starter type role to start out, but as the season goes forward, I think he's going to be a major piece of that bullpen. So it'll be interesting to see what the Sox do here moving forward as we get closer to opening day.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, they're all good, but when you take Kopech and Crotchet, you got guys that both throw 100 from both sides of the plate. I mean, I know baseball's got some of those stupid rules with you got to face 3 batters now, so it kind of limits the whole matchup thing. But when you've got a guy that you could bring in from the left side to throw 103, and then you bring a guy from the right side that comes back with 101. Not many teams have that.
No, that's a very nasty duo over there in the White Sox pitching. And that bullpen, like you said, is just immensely strong. It's got to be one of the best, if not the best, in baseball. And that team's going to go far if they can get some offense going. They've got
you said it best. You said it best. You got all that on the pitching side. They added Lance Lynn. A lot of very exciting things on the rotation, but that offense, I know it's spring training, but we have our little chat that we always talk in, everybody here at 1252. And, I know it's spring training, but that offense looks so slow. They
It
just
really
they're
does, and that
it's like they're either striking out or hitting home runs. They don't have any hits. They're not stealing bases. They're not. They just don't look like that same offense that we saw last year. And I know it's spring training, but at some point you like to see them wake up a little bit.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I mean, obviously it's early, we're still in spring training, but got to see some offensive consistency out of that unit. And the same really goes for the Cubs early on. I mean, we've seen a couple guys start to warm up, but overall it's been very little scoring, and that's an issue moving forward in this league. I mean, we've got a full season coming up, and these guys need to be able to hit at a consistent level. And realistically, it's going to be more of a challenge for the Cubs. They're definitely not front runners this year by any means, but I think
Especially with Cardinals going out and getting Arenado.
yeah, that was a very good signing on their part. Cardinals are going to be tough this year, but of course, always going to root for our Cubs to overcome and win the division. Hopefully, that bullpen gets some consistency at the start of the season. They haven't looked bad so far in spring training. Arrieta seems to be warming up a little bit. I
Man,
think
he looks great. I saw he had through those 2 scoreless innings the other day. Again,
yeah,
it's spring training, but hopefully he could just, even if he's almost, he's obviously not going to be the same guy he was when he was here before. But I think every Cub fan is like, oh, we're going to get Arrieta back. We're going to get Cy Young Jake back. Obviously that's not who he is anymore. But if he can at least just be, a guy that you could depend on to go out every fifth day and give you a chance to win, at least it'll help them in that playoff run.
Oh, absolutely. I think he's going to be a mentor in this role this time around. He's going to be a mentor for some of the guys as they develop. Obviously, he's got a really good relationship with Hendricks, and I think the two of them bouncing off of each other moving forward will be good for Hendricks' development. I mean, he's the ace in that bullpen realistically now. It's a weird thing to say when you look back a few years ago. He was just a guy in that pen, but
Right.
over the last few years, he's really solidified himself as a great pitcher. And as far as this year goes, I'm excited to see what he does.
Our guy Angelo jumping the gun here. I was waiting at the tip of my seat to get to Jock Peterson. Our guy Angelo here at 12:52. He asked, "How do you guys feel about Jock Peterson?" You know what? I liked the signing when they made it. I thought it was, everyone said, well, he's Kyle Schwarber. I think he's a little better than Kyle Schwarber, a little more consistent than Kyle Schwarber. And to see him now at 5 home runs, I believe he's at now.
Yes.
That's what he's going to do. And hitting at Wrigley Field, he's a guy that, a lot of players, they warm up about halfway through the year. They don't hit in the cold.
Definitely.
We'll see how he does. He played with the Dodgers, so he's played in L.A., but obviously he played on the road in L.A. too, so he's used to playing other places. But he's a guy that with that short wall, he could realistically hit 40 home runs, 30, 35, somewhere around there. And if he's going to do that, and if he could, even if he hits 250 with 35 bombs, Schwarber's a guy that he was in the hundreds. He's hitting 170, 180 with 30 home runs. So we get a guy that can hit 250, a little more consistent. And he plays pretty good defense. No one's going to mistake him for some of the guys you got on the south side of there, like Lewis Robert and guys like that. But he's a guy that you don't have to worry about.
For sure. I agree. I was excited with the signing initially, and again, yeah, he's already hit 5 homers. Again, still early, but good to see some consistency out of him. And I think he was an upgrade over Schwarber. I think it was time for us to move on from Schwarber. He was good initially with the Cubs, but he had a couple down years the last couple seasons. And, sometimes a change of scenery can be all that a guy needs. Wish Schwarber nothing but the best moving forward, but I think we got an upgrade. We made the right move, and excited to see some consistency out of that position moving forward. Our guy Angelo here in the chat saying that he's played in Wrigley during the playoffs. He will feel right at home. Hopefully that's the case. Hopefully he gets his footing. Hopefully he can hit in the cold and be consistent. Like you said, if he's right there at the 250 mark for us, that's an improvement over Schwarber, and it's definitely worth the money at that point. So
yeah, I think a lot of people fell in love with Kyle Schwarber with the He was hurt the year they won the World Series. He was hurt. He came back in the World Series faster than
Right.
anybody thought he would. It I don't know if it's like that around the country. We just see the Chicago fans, but I feel like
Right.
us Chicago fans, we fall in love with guys for what they did, and we hold on too long.
Oh,
I thought there was years there where they could have traded Kyle Schwarber to the Yankees or to a team like that in the American League that was looking for a DH, and I think they could have gotten pieces for him that would help be where better than where we are now. We look at the Cubs now, the cupboard's bare, as they say.
yeah.
What once was, all these guys we got in the minors, then it was, well, we don't really have any minors, but we got all these guys that are still really young and they're top of their position, and we got them in the major league level now. As the years have gone by, now we've gotten worse and worse and worse, and they've regressed, and we just haven't really had. You could have moved some of these guys to replenish what we had in the minor leagues. So now, like I said, it sucks. Like you said, it sucks to see guys go. John Lester always have a place in my heart as a Cub fan.
Definitely.
But I don't shed a tear over him being in Washington. Kyle Schwarber, I was ready to break up with Kyle Schwarber years ago. So I'm excited for Jock and what he brings to the Cubs.
Yeah, I would have to say with Lester, I personally disagree. I think that for a little bit of money, we could have kept Lester in Chicago, and he wanted to stay in Chicago. He was extremely vocal that he wanted to stay in Chicago and wanted to finish his career as a Cub. Then you say you don't have the money for him, but then you go out and sign some other guys for around that same dollar amount. It's got to leave a bad taste in his mouth, so to speak, because he was vocal about even accepting less money to stay and play in this city. And Lester was a staple. I don't think you can put him and Schwarber in the same boat just because yes, I agree that we held on to Schwarber a little too long. Like you said, when you're batting 170, that's if the streak continues, you need to break that guy out of there and move on. Get him somewhere else, get some money for him while you still can. And realistically, we could have traded Schwarber 2 seasons ago for at least a piece of at least probably twice what we got out of him now. So I'm
Absolutely.
shocked, but
It just felt like one of those messy breakups. We don't have the money. We'd love to sign them. And I just feel like sometimes these teams, they get so invested in a guy that they don't know how to say, we just don't want you anymore. You look at the Hawks did the same thing with Corey Crawford, offered a really low contract. The Bears have done it with guys. They did it with Brian Urlacher. Now the Cubs have done it with John Lester. And I just feel like sometimes they just don't know how to tell the guy, you know what? We love everything you did for us, but we're not interested anymore. And Kyle, I love seeing him go out there and smash the ball, but I'm tired of seeing him hitting to the shift time after time after time.
I can understand that. Our guy Tyler here in the chat saying the Cubs did Lester dirty. I would have to agree with that. I didn't like it, but it's baseball, it's financials, and we move on. We can't dwell over a single player. With that being said, I think personally an unpopular opinion would be that we need to move on from Chris Bryant. I think Chris Bryant is going to demand too much money, and we're going to have to cut ties. If it comes down to it, and you've got a choice between keeping Chris Bryant, Rizzo, and Baez, who are you keeping in Chicago?
I think, and the hard part about this is I think it's either Baez and Rizzo or Bryant. I think you can keep Baez and Rizzo. A lot of people talk about Baez and love the $300 million contracts, and Fred, I was listening to Fred Hubner the other day on ESPN, and he was saying, Baez isn't going to get $300 million. He's just not. He's had a few down years now. He's showed some flaws again at the plate. The year that he competed for the MVP, he didn't make those mistakes. He wasn't chasing all those pitches. He had everything going. And now you've seen these last couple of years where I just don't feel like he's been as consistent. So now if you can sign Baez, whatever it is, 150, 120, whatever it is you sign him to. And then you can sign Anthony Rizzo, who I think Anthony Rizzo will give you a hometown discount. I don't think Rizzo wants to play anywhere else at this point. I just don't. I think you can sign them both. And Chris, he just every time I think he's about to turn that corner and he's about to get it back, he just slumps a little farther. And maybe it's
Yep.
moving him all around the field that screwed him up. I think it was our guy Fat Mike that said it best. Maybe it was that fastball he took to the head. A lot of guys.
Absolutely.
Same thing happened to Sammy Sosa. He got hit in the head and he wasn't the same.
Yep.
I would have loved to see the Cubs move Chris Bryant to the Mets before they traded for Francisco Lindor, because I thought the best prospects now have been traded for Francisco Lindor. And I guess it all depends what the Cubs want. When they traded Yu Darvish, I'm all good with trading Yu Darvish. You were never going to get more than you could when you traded him. The problem I had was I thought they completely undersold him. They didn't get much, and now we're stuck with what we have. I don't know how you feel.
Agreed.
Which of those guys, which would you keep?
I do have to agree with you on that to an extent. I think either you get Javi and Rizzo to stay, or you get Chris Bryant, and I honestly would deal Chris Bryant in a heartbeat. I think, as you said, our guy Fat Mike brought up the other night that he just hasn't been the same since he got hit in the head, and unfortunately, I think that's the case. We've seen a lot of inconsistency out of Bryant. If we would have dealt him last year, we could have got a little bit more for him. We'll see how he does this year. Maybe he'll turn a page and maybe we get to that deadline, we decide to trade him and we get something decent for him. But realistically, I think his ceiling has definitely been there and passed. So it's a no-brainer to keep Javi. Even with the down years that he's had, I think he's still consistent enough that you give the man the money he needs to stay in Chicago. Rizzo, he's another one that's vocal about loving the city of Chicago, loves playing in the city of Chicago, wants to be a Cub for his career. So I think you're right. I think he would take a little bit of a hometown discount, so to speak, just to stay with the Cubs and move forward in this organization. And he's always been consistent. So I think it's a no-brainer if it comes down to keeping those two. And moving on from Bryant, you deal Bryant for whatever you can get for him at that point.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. So, we were talking about Kyle Schwarber and hitting into the shift. I don't know if you saw this, but I was listening to the radio today, and they were talking about a new rule that I guess they're going to start in Double A, and they're going to experiment it with Double A and see how it goes. And it's something that, depending on how it goes, the second half of the year, they could put it up into the majors. I would imagine it have to be voted on by the union. I don't know how all that works, but they're basically you have to have 4 infielders with 2 feet in the dirt when the ball is pitched, which would really take away the shift. I mean, I guess you could still put 3 on that side, but they would all be in the infield. You wouldn't be able to have that short, that guy in short right center like a lot of guys do for the shift. I don't know how you feel about that kind of such a drastic rule change.
I think in principle it's an idea that should be explored, but I don't think it's going to work at the major level. You've got guys that strategically just want to use a shift, and you're really going to take a lot of defense away from the game if you do that, in my opinion.
Yeah, it really caught me by surprise because baseball, more than any other sport, is an analytic-driven sport. They've talked about Theo and Billy Bean and other guys who run their team based off basically what a computer tells them they should do. This is who should play. Right. This is where they should bat, all those things. And then you're going to basically say, well, we're an analytics-based sport, but we're going to take that out. And now you're not going to have that anymore. We're just going to say, well, even though that that's your best defense, you can't run it.
Right. And I understand the principle. They want to get more offense. They want to have higher scoring games. I think that's what's driving it. You see another rule change they're doing in AAA, I believe they're increasing the bag size by maybe 3 inches, I believe, to try to get players to steal more. So I think it's all an offensive grab. I don't think it'll work at the major level, but that's just my personal opinion. I think it's definitely something worth trying at the AA level, see how it goes. And, if they decide that's something they want to bring to a vote with the players, that's what they'll do. But realistically, I don't think it's going to work.
Yeah, I don't think it is either. Like you said, it's one thing to do it in the minors and kind of toy with it and see what it does. I think they said it would basically turn out to be the equivalent of moving the bases to 88 feet instead of 90.
Right.
It would be the equivalent to the distance. And I know it's only 2 feet, but it's like the guys who steal bases. I think the reason that
Right.
there's less steals now is because everybody's either striking out or hitting a home run. You don't have the steals because nobody wants to be caught off base, and then a guy come up and hit what would be a 3-run homer, and now it's only 2. You don't have that
Agreed.
small ball feel where a Ricky Henderson would get on base and he'd single, and next he's stealing second and third. And now a sacrifice fly brings him in. Now you get a guy that gets on base, and they're like, oh, a bloop and a blast. If I get a guy on first, I could hit a 2-run homer.
Exactly. And I think that's how the mentality of the game's changed over the last few years, definitely. We've, as you said, over recent seasons, we've seen steal percentages drop, and guys are almost playing scared in that regard. It's just one of those things that we see the game evolve, we see it change, and
Somebody apparently is not an Alabama fan.
that's all right. I've been an Alabama fan for a long time. College, obviously, I do follow my Chicago sports here. The Illini have been on a hell of a tear lately, and
Ooh, I can't wait for the tournament to start. Watch Illinois. They're winning it all. I've decided. They're winning it all. This is the
you
year.
think so?
I hope so. I'd love to see it. That Illinois team with Darren Williams and Brian Cook and who was it? Was it D Brown was the point guard?
Yep.
When they went to the finals and they got blown out by North Carolina. I've been hoping and praying they'd make it back ever since. The closest we got was Loyola the last couple years ago. But with Io coming back, I saw a thing on which I absolutely loved. I saw a thing on Twitter today that Io's been wearing his mask in his apartment, and everything he does, he's been wearing the mask. He's just ready to go. He's ready to get out there and win some games. So hopefully that'll carry him.
Yeah, I mean, we've had some big statement games even without Io over this last stretch. So
yeah,
excited to see what this team does. March is my favorite time of year for basketball. I love college basketball a little bit more than I love the NBA. So I'm excited to see what this Illini team brings to the table. And I do think you'll see them in the Final Four. I'm not going to go as far to say they'll win it all, but I'd love to see it. I'd love to see them bring it home to Illinois. It would be great to get that championship for them. So,
yeah, I mean, if you get Illinois, if they can make a deep run, like you said, even if it's not the Final Four, if they could just make a deep run, that paired along with the Bulls making this second half run, it could be a really interesting and exciting basketball time of year here in Chicago that we haven't seen very often.
Absolutely. Yeah, transitioning a little bit to the Bulls. So Lauri Markkanen came back last night.
Yes, he did.
He was, I believe, 8 of 11 or 8 of 12 shooting. Great numbers from 3. I think, how many threes did he hit last night, Vince?
I think he hit 7. I think it was 7
threes. That's a good, solid shooting performance from him. Still, I don't think Lauri's ever going to be the defensive player that we need him to be. With the way this team is right now, we just don't have a lot of guys that can play defense. And unfortunately, we thought Wendell was going to be very versatile on the defensive side, but look at the points in the paint we gave up last night.
Oh man, I was absolutely going nuts. How do you give up more points in the paint this time around against Philly when they don't have Ben Simmons, who doesn't shoot? All of his points are practically in the paint. I mean, I guess he hits a mid-range, but mostly he's in the paint. and Joel Embiid, who, yeah, he shoots a little bit,
Right.
but he's mostly the paint. They don't have either player, and you let Dwight Howard dominate the paint on both sides of the court. I mean,
That
Dwight
was
looked like he was back in his Orlando Magic days, doing what he wanted
right.
to. You know, we
It-
had a question come through. Somebody asked, "Is that the best Lowry's going to look?" Is what we saw last night, and I think that's exactly why we are where we are in conversations with Lauri Markkanen. Everybody said that's the guy. He's going to be our next major superstar. And he goes out and he has games like last night where he had 7 3-pointers and he plays not good, but okay defense. He at least makes people go around him, which is more than I could say for some of the
Right.
Bulls. But then the next day he'll go out and he'll have 6 points. And it's
Right.
like a guy who can shoot like that. How do you go so extreme where you're a guy that I could say, okay, now you're a focal point of this offense. You, Zach, we could build around that. The kid, Patrick Williams, okay, we're getting somewhere. And then 2 games later, you go out and we can't count on you for even double-digit points. I mean, it's so easy to score 10
Right.
points, especially you're 7
It's
feet tall. Go stand by the damn basket and put the ball in if you can't shoot.
that's the issue with Lowry in my eyes, is the inconsistency. Obviously, he's had some injuries here down the stretch, and when do you stop blaming injury and start saying it's the inconsistency is my thought. I
Right,
think
absolutely.
to
Is it,
go
you know,
back to the question, it's that probably what we saw last night is probably the best you're going to see out of Markkanen. But he's not going to have those nights all the time. He's
right.
proven that over his career here with the Bulls, and I think he's probably at his ceiling as a player. I don't think there's much room for development. Don't get me wrong, he's not an old guy, but I don't see him going to be that all-star superstar role that the Bulls envisioned for him when we brought him to Chicago.
Yeah, I think that, you know, Laurie, you're realistically looking at about 15 points, 5 rebounds, 3 assists on an average, on a night in, night out
Okay.
basis. And there's nothing wrong with that. But on a Bulls team that is desperately, desperately looking for that second star, it's not nearly good enough.
It's
You
not
know,
enough.
and like you said, at what point do we stop just blaming all the injuries? Or if we're going to blame the injuries, just say, well, he can't stay healthy. Whatever it is, whether it's the injuries or the skill or whatever it is, he has not made that second step. And we've been waiting and waiting for him to do that. And I just don't think that he's ever going to be that guy. You know, maybe they let him go and maybe he goes somewhere else. But to me, with him coming up on, he's already said he doesn't want to resign here. Now, maybe you could convince him with AK and Billy Donovan and guys that you have here to make that commitment. But to me, I'm looking to move him while I can. And I'm looking to get a piece that I can build with because at this point, I don't think he's a piece we can build with.
Absolutely. I think that, like you said, he's been on the record saying that he doesn't want to re-sign in Chicago. So get as much as you can for him and move on. Like you said, we've probably seen his ceiling. I don't know if his worth goes up at all anymore this year if we wait until the off season and see what we can get for him. Whatever the case is, I think it's time for us to move on. We got to
You
get
know,
that other star around Zach LaVine. That's just
absolutely. You know, but I just keep telling myself it could be worse. We could be Houston Rocket fans who the team that cut DeMarcus Cousins is now looking to cut PJ Tucker. And, well, if anything else, they're just going to retire James Harden's jersey after he forced his way out.
I don't like that at all. I honestly, the way that James Harden bullied his way out of that contract, I personally think it was bullshit, honestly. I don't think that, at least at this point, you should retire his number. I think that's almost a disservice to the Houston fans.
Well,
That's
and
kind of
not to mention
it's
you didn't win anything. I mean, what are you retiring his
right.
number for having a bunch of singles stats that he scored a bunch of points and had a bunch of assists, but never actually led him anywhere? Then he forced his way out. I heard somebody on Sports Center or ESPN went somewhere. They were talking about, was he wearing a fat suit? Because he looked like he was about 40 pounds heavier in Houston. He got to Brooklyn the
Right.
next Tuesday and he looked good again. It was like, well, what just happened?
Yeah, absolutely. And Harden in Houston, his problem was always he was tough to play with. He was kind
Yeah.
of I don't want to say a ball hog, but really he wanted to be that star so badly that he didn't pass the ball as efficiently as he should have.
Well, and then when it comes out after the fact that the stories about how he was involved with every personnel decision from coaches to trainers to players. I mean, I know that today's day and age, the star athlete has some sort of input, but to be the last guy that makes the decision, that's completely different than saying, okay, well, we're going to include you in this process, to saying, well, we're going to let you make all the decisions and determine where we go.
Yeah, and honestly, looking back, I'm sure Houston's shooting themselves in the foot for giving him that much power, but
oh yeah, because it completely set them back, and now they're talking about retiring his jersey. Speaking of retiring jerseys, a guy who does deserve his jersey retired everywhere he's been. We had him on last week. He's coming back on with us. Former Kansas City Chief, former AFL standout, all-time leading rusher in the Arena Football League, and College Football Hall of Famer, Derrick the GOAT Ross.
How y'all doing, man?
What's up, Derrick?
How we doing, man?
I'm doing good, man. Different scenario this time.
Yeah, your background's a little clearer. You got your phone charged up for us this time?
I got my phone charged up. Everything's ready to go tonight, man. How y'all doing tonight?
Doing good. Glad to have you back joining us. We appreciate you coming on to spend some time with us again this week.
Absolutely. We really appreciate it. We had great feedback from last week's interview. I think people wanted to hear a little more about your story. So, before we get into everything, you just want to kind of just give your brief little story from, Tarleton State on through to, becoming the all-time leading rusher of the Arena Football League. And before you do, I got to say, nice shirt. I got mine on.
Oh yeah, I like this shirt too. You know what I'm saying? We D39.
I got to give you one of those.
Awesome, nice shirt.
We'll definitely get you one.
Definitely get you one. We all gonna sport them.
Yeah. You just want to walk us through a little bit from your journey from Tarleton State to Arena Football.
Yes, of course. Well, I went to Tarleton State. I tried to go to Baylor out of high school. My SATs wasn't, up to par. So I had to go that D1 AA route. So I chose Tarleton State. And my first game there, I had like 266 yards. I broke the all-time record for rushing in a game. That was my first time actually carrying the ball for Tarleton State. And from then on, man, I don't think I had less than 100-yard game my whole career at Tarleton State in the next 2 years. Basically, I came out of Tarleton like the number one recruit. I came out with Reggie Bush, them, Vince Young, them, all the, big time guys. And I got invited to the big combine in Indianapolis, where I went there and they flew me out there. That was my first time being on a plane or whatnot. You know what I'm saying? I'm a country boy, so that was really exciting for me. I got off the plane and everything. There was chauffeur. Everybody was like treating me like first class. I wasn't used to that. It was, it was amazing. So I went into the combine, went into the stadium, and man, honestly, I don't know what. I just went blank. I just killed every position. I mean, I killed the 40-yard dash. I think I ran like a 4.45, and I'm talking about the shuttle run, the vertical jump. I jumped a 40. It was like, I don't know what it was, man. It was just like, I'm not going home. I'm not going backwards. And man, I thought I was gonna get,
Said it was like you just snapped and something woke up in that moment.
Yeah, it was snap, man, because all the big time guys, I was kind of upset because all the big time guys, they didn't have to do no drills. Reggie Bush, he was just walking around getting his picture taken. And I'm like, man, I got to come here and work, to be at that. So that kind of, motivated me and stuff like that. So after the combine and whatnot, they sent me back home, and then the draft came. First day, I didn't get a phone call. Second day, I got a phone call from the Pittsburgh Steelers, the Kansas City Chiefs, and I basically picked the Chiefs because it was more money, and I thought I had an opportunity, even though they had Larry Johnson, Priest Holmes, and Michael Bennett in the backfield. I really thought I had a chance with that. and I wanted to be a Chief. You know, I like the colors, the stadium, you know, the vibe, everything about it, and that barbecue. You know, I'm a Texas guy, so you know what I mean. So
Okay.
I went to Kansas City. I was number 7 on the depth chart, man, and honestly, I just mimic everything Larry Johnson and Michael Bennett did. I mimic everything, but I was more quicker than Larry Johnson, so they got me above D Brown. You know, then it was a Quentin Griffin. Y'all probably remember Quentin Griffin. He went to Oklahoma, a little short running back. Actually, did very good with the Denver Broncos. Yeah, they brought him down. He was in front of me, man, and coach was like, "If you're gonna make this team, you got to beat him." And what I did was I was bigger, I was faster, and I was more quicker than him, man. I don't know how. It was just, I don't know, it was just an out of body experience, honestly. And man, because I wanted to stay there, man. It was nothing.
We had a question come in from one of the watchers. They wanted to know, who is your favorite team growing up?
My favorite team was the Houston Oilers, actually. And that's the reason why I started loving football, because my mama used to sit in front of the TV and clap for Earl Campbell. And she used to be like, "You remind me so much." You know what I'm saying? "You remind me of Earl Campbell so much." And I saw how I got her excited. And I always wanted to keep my mama excited, you know, keep her happy. So, I mean, I just started playing football. She signed me up in youth football league. So that was, you know, that's what it was.
That's very cool.
Very cool. Yeah. Any other? Obviously, you've been around a little bit. You went from the Chiefs, and then you went to. Did you go directly from the Chiefs to the AFL, or?
No. After the Chiefs, they asked me if I wanted to travel, and I was like, "Yeah, I'll travel if y'all pay for it." So they sent me to Cologne, Germany, to that NFL NFL E League, NFL Europe League. And I got allocated to the Cologne, Germany, Cologne, Germany. When I went over there, I got MVP of the league. They didn't expect that because, you know, I was a running back, but I went over there. And like I said, man, I wasn't taking no prisoners. I didn't make no friends hardly over there. I was just always concentrating on football. I went over there. And, I traveled a lot, you know, Amsterdam, you know, where they had teams in all the towns, whatever cities, whatever not. But all I did was, man, I just focused, man. That was the most focused I ever been in my life. Because, like I said, I'm from the country, man. You know, we're poor. You know, I wanted all the finer things in life, man, and I had to get it. And that was my only way of getting it, the football. So I just grinded for it. So after NFL Europe League, they was like, "Man, you know, you're really good." So I didn't like their food over there, and I was eating a lot of junk food, and I gained a little weight. I came back to the Kansas City Chiefs at 240. They wanted me at 228. So that whole second year, I was like trying to get my weight off, man, but it was hard. And, you know, as you get older, you know, it's hard to get that weight off, you know, when you ain't have that much body fat from the get-go. So, man, I was working my butt off. And then the final cuts on Kansas City Chiefs Hard Knocks, they called me. Well, I made the team my second year. I made the team. And I was celebrating. I went back to my hometown. Me and my buddies, I booked a flight to Texas. And that next morning, I was hungover. They called me on Hard Knocks and told me that they had cut me. So I at the time, I was like, "What?" You know what I'm saying? You know, but I had to grow up. So, you know what I'm saying? That's basically what I did. And my agent called me and said, "No worries, Derrick. You're going to have another shot." So Cincinnati Bengals called me. And honestly, I went there and I didn't really like Marv. I didn't like him at all, man. I didn't like how he tried to, I don't know. I'm going to say little boy me. He tried to little boy me, you know what I'm saying? I wanted to be a running back. He tried to put me on special team. And I was a little arrogant at the time, you know what I'm saying? I wanted to play running back because I felt like I deserved that opportunity. But I didn't understand that if they put the more money they put in you, that's who they going to play. You know what I'm saying? They didn't put that much money in me. I was coming from Tarleton. Them guys from, you know, USC and all the big time schools, they were putting them big monies, you know, the first rounds a bit, and you're going to play. So I just had to wait my term, and I wouldn't really want to do that. So they told me to go to Canada. I went to Canada, man, and I just sat on the bench for 2 years. My bad. I'm here. It ain't go nowhere. I promise you, it ain't go nowhere this time.
Real quick, Derrick, we got a question from the chat here. What do you consider to be your greatest accomplishment of your football career?
Oh, wow. My greatest accomplishment of my football career? Oh, man, it has to be. I have so many, man. I mean, I'm not trying to be arrogant. I have so many, man. I mean, but I have to say, being in the Hall of Fame, man, in college Hall of Fame. Oh, and getting a championship finally. I was trying to do that forever, and I finally got it with the Jacksonville Sharks. So man, I got a bunch of awards. I mean, I don't know, man. Everything. I mean, anytime you get anything special in a big time league, pro league, or college collegiate, man, it's special. So everything I did, man, I'm gonna say it was a big time moment for me.
How did it feel, when you were in the Arena Football League? Obviously, other places, Kansas City Chiefs are obviously on TV, Canada, everything like that. But how did it feel the Arena Football League when you went there and then you found yourself as, maybe not the face of the entire league, but definitely one of the main guys and the household names, and to be on ESPN and NBC and have all those guys talk about how you really changed the game from making that, for those who don't know, the Arena Football League, the running back is really always just been a blocker, and
Right.
Derrick, when
Yeah,
you came in, you turned that into a runner, and that's why you're now the all-time leading rusher.
yeah, man. I mean, when I first got in there, I remember Dozell saying, "Man, this is not outdoor football, Derek. You ain't gonna get that many touchdowns or runs." You know what I mean? So I was like, okay, me, I was trying to make him a believer. And so the first time I got the ball in the Arena Football League, I took it to it was Kansas City Command. I took it to a touchdown. Bam, it was 33 yards. And he was like, what? And from that moment, man, Dozell was giving me the ball, and I was steady. Like he said, anytime you don't get more than 5 yards, I'm not giving you the ball no more. But I was averaging 7 yards a pop. So he was steady giving it to me. He was
That's
a
a lot
man
on
of
a
his word.
50-yard field.
Yeah, that's a hell of a lot on that field. You know what I'm saying? Because at that level, I was still bigger and faster than everybody else. So I was like, and I had a little bit of hips from playing running back in the league. So it was hard for them to tackle me, and there was no way they was tackling me. And then as my career, as the games was going, man, I was getting more in shape, and I was just dominating. It was nothing in the world. I mean, from my whole arena career, it was just domination, man. It was because I had that passion because at the beginning I thought I could get back to the league. So you know how you get that drive in, you think I'm like,
Right.
man, I'm gonna push it harder, you know what I mean? So I'm dominating everybody. I'm trying to get back to the league. But then after I got a little older, after my 5th year, you know what I'm saying? I'm just like, oh man, this ain't nothing but stats. Let me try to win me a championship so I can be a GOAT. You know what I mean? So that's what my focus was. So my whole brain, changed. I went from, you know what I'm saying, wanting it to be about me to being about the team. I actually cared about the quarterback. I cared about the wide receivers. I'm telling the GM who to pick and who not to pick. I wanted the championship, and man, thank God Jacksonville gave it to me. I brought one to Jacksonville. You
That's
know what I
awesome.
mean? It was a
Eric,
blessing.
we had one of our followers ask. So basically, he said you're the Emmitt Smith of the Arena Football League. He said, who would you consider better, yourself or Emmitt Smith?
Oh, me or Emmitt Smith better? I'm gonna have to say him because he made a lot more money than me. You know what I'm saying? That's just me. But as far as I don't know. I think I could have ran behind that line, man. Y'all could have been telling me I'm a Hall of Fame, NFL Hall of Fame, if I had that offensive line he had. I mean, I respect this game, but I'm a Barry Sanders fan, and I really think Barry number one. So I get it, but whatever.
You're
I
breaking
consider
every
more of
Chicago
a Barry.
You're breaking every Chicago Bear fan's heart with leaving Walter Payton out.
No, I
Sweetness.
mean Walter. I'm talking about. Oh, you're right. Walter was the man too. You know what I'm saying? But then you got to put LaDainian, you got to put Adrian Peterson. There's so many great backs, man. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? But
Really
Walter,
is.
he was just so kind with it. He was such a sweetheart, man. You couldn't help but to root for him. You know what I'm talking about? R.I.P. man, to a great. I actually played with his son in Canada over there. I mean, he's nothing like his father. You know what I mean? But he had heart.
Yeah, absolutely. I spoke with one of your former quarterbacks this week, prep for the show, Tommy Grady. He said, out of all the players he's played with in the Arena Football League, he said you're one of the smartest players and smartest teammates he's ever had. And for somebody who had so many single goals, was such a team first guy, How did you separate the two? You talked about it a little bit yourself when you were talking about how you started to care about what the rest of the team looked like. What did you do? How did you keep track
I'm
of
sorry, I
your?
couldn't.
How did you keep track of being a team first guy, but still going out trying to be the best there is?
Oh, because you gotta understand, ain't no I in team. You guys, one thing you gotta understand that you gotta work
Right.
with people. You just can't go out there and be self. You know what I'm saying? And me, I was putting the team first, but I would have, I was trying to get money because I was trying to get money in the Arena Football League. So you had to stand out. You gotta, you gotta ball. So and Tommy saying I'm one of the smartest people he ever played with. Wow, that's huge. That's really huge because he done played with some great players. I mean, I guess I just studied the football game. You know what I'm saying? I love the game and I always try to put my best foot forward, for me, my team, and for the organization. That's how I always been.
Another question we got from the chat here. What's the difference in the game speed in the AFL versus the NFL?
Oh wow. Oh wow. I'm telling you, I got a quick story. We was playing the Pittsburgh Steelers. I was on the Kansas City Chiefs. We were playing the Pittsburgh Steelers. And man, my first play, we were getting blown out, and they was like, Ross, get in the game. I'm like, all right. So I got in the game, and I'm telling you, Larry Foote, they was just swarming me so fast. I think I got like 3 yards. But you know me, I'm used to trying to get out, trying to boogie in that hole, trying to get. But man, them guys are so quick, man. Them guys got kids, they got to feed. It's a different type level in that NFL, and I'm not gonna lie. I mean, AFL, respect to the guys that play AFL, but that NFL is a whole nother animal, man. It's a whole other animal, man. And they don't understand it until you actually played in it that, hey, as soon as you mess up, they're there. You can't, it's no mistakes. There's no room for mistakes. And for the younger guys, I mean, the catch on, I understand. That's why I kind of understand the first, second, and third round draft picks. You know what I'm saying? Because that comes with a lot with that. You know what I mean? Like you have to perform. You got to go in the game right now and perform. Like that's huge, man. You know what I'm saying? And I just give kudos to all the players, that went in the NFL first year and did good and did good.
So, Derrick, we've gone over the different parts of your football career. Now, post football, why don't you tell us a little bit about the project you're working with now?
All right. Well, I started with a T-shirt, and honestly, I didn't think my T-shirt was gonna sell that much, man. And my T-shirt just started selling and selling and selling. And I had several companies wanting to put my shirt in on their website or whatnot. And I actually asked Mark and Mr. CBD. So me and Mark started working together, on the CBD product thing. And he, we as partners. So that's what I'm doing now. I'm on this CBD and apparel, that's doing real well. That's how I'm floating right now. It's actually been doing real well. What we do is, we have a bunch of CBD stuff that we find, we trim that fine line between legal and illegal, to make it actually works. You know what I mean? Because some of this CBD stuff out there don't work for people, but I was guaranteed to work because, I've been slanging it, it actually working and people loving it and they steady coming back. So, I like it, man. This new thing I'm going on, I really love it, man. I'm a marijuana advocate, as y'all probably know, I smoke it, so, everybody can't smoke weed legally. So CBD is an alternate to that. People that, people have to work, got to go to jobs and stuff like that. And if they can get it in their system by still getting the same, the same, same effect. If they get the same effect, then that'll be amazing. So that's what we're trying to do here, man. And it actually is doing good. So shout out to Mr. CBD Chicago, man. Thank you very much.
That's awesome, Derrick. So one last question before we let you go. And we appreciate you hopping back on with us. Again, another great interview. Actually, we just had a question come in from the chat. And that is, what are your thoughts about the marijuana rules with the NFL? Gronk has spoke out and a few other players have spoke out on the positive.
What I think about marijuana in NFL, I actually think, man, marijuana ain't that bad, man. Let them smoke. I think alcohol kill more people than marijuana, you know what I mean? So I honestly think let them smoke, long as they don't abuse it, long as they, let them smoke, man. And I'm sure most of them did. I mean, I'm going to be honest, I smoked weed. As soon as they did their first marijuana test, after that, I smoked the whole year. So I know they do it in the league. It's not, I'm sure they do it. It's just quiet. So I know I saw my own eyes, a lot of people do it. So they smoke. They just trying to keep it, now they just want to let everybody know. You know what I mean? So I'm for it, man. Let them smoke that pot.
Well, and
Last
you've seen
question.
guys be blackballed over it. You've seen guys' careers get.
What was that?
You've seen guys get blackballed for using marijuana in the NFL. Gordon.
I can't hear y'all breaking up.
He was saying that Josh Gordon and Justin Blackmon and other players have kind of
Oh,
been
yeah, but I don't think Josh Gordon. I don't think that's marijuana Josh Gordon owned. Actually, I think that's something stronger. I actually think that might be that powder or even something even bigger or pills. I think I ain't never seen marijuana. Ain't never made me act like lose no $2, $3, $4, $5 million. You know what I mean? I ain't never did. I mean, I don't know. I think it's something more than that. And what I'm hearing from the league, you know what I'm saying? I think it's a little bit more than marijuana.
So with the Mr. CBD and everything you're working on now, we gonna see you in the pads again anytime, or are you done?
Man, I actually got offered 2 teams. An expansion team was finna come out of the woodworks, and they wanted me to be their star, but I don't know what happened. It was a San Antonio Valor. You know what I'm saying? They wanted me to come out and then play with them. You know what I'm saying? But now the New Jersey some team. They want me to
flight.
Yeah, New Jersey Flight. You know what I'm saying? And I got a Mark trying to hook me up with a bunch of Chicago teams. But like I said, my business doing so good, man. Why not? I don't want to keep getting concussions and heartaches and scratches and stuff like that. I'm a businessman now. So, but for the right price, I strap them up. I do the lawnmower one last time.
That's what I was going to ask you. I forgot last week. Where did the lawnmower come from? For everybody who doesn't know, that's Derrick.
Man, when I was in the country, my mama would let me go out Fridays, but she would make me mow that yard Saturday mornings. And that I used to remember that goddamn push lawnmower having my shit going like this. And it's just a kudos to her. Like every time I do it, she know that's for her. It's just a me and my mama thing. It's weird, but it's just me and my mama thing, man. You know what I'm saying? You know how that mower is.
Well, Derrick, thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate it. You're a great friend of the show, and we can't wait to have you on again.
Yeah, appreciate your time, Derrick.
I know, man. Man, thanks for having me on, man. Thank you, everybody that's tuned in, man. I love you guys. Hey, thanks for having me on.
Absolutely.
Thanks,
Derrick.
Appreciate you taking the time.
Right. Bye. MrCBDChicago.com. Go get you some shirts, man. All right.
So that was Derrick Ross, everybody, and that interview was brought to us by the Jonathan Darren team, and we're going to check this little ad out right quick for us.
Hi, I'm Jonathan Darren, licensed real estate broker with Coldwell Banker Real Estate Group in Homer Glen. Are you looking to buy or sell? Have you been disappointed in the past? The Jonathan Darren team with Coldwell Banker Real Estate Group focuses on providing you with a concierge level of service during the process of buying or selling. We are a service-oriented team with a fresh and professional approach to selling real estate. Our goal is to combine knowledge, skills, and passion to exceed our clients' expectations, and most of all, we truly care. We are a knowledgeable real estate team focused on offering expertise and innovative solutions for our clients. The Jonathan Darren team has 5 full-service real estate brokers and a dedicated full-time marketer servicing all of Chicagoland. We will customize a detailed plan around your timeline for a sale, purchase, investment, estate, or other needs. Real estate transactions can be stressful, but don't need to be. Let us handle it for you. Visit our website, homesbyjdt.com, or call 708-308-1938 today. Expect better in real estate. Choose the Jonathan Darren team.
All right, that was a quick word from our guy Jonathan Darren over at the Coldwell Banker Real Estate Group. Great friend of the show there. So what a guest, man. Derrick had such an insightful perspective, especially being a guy that played in the NFL, NFL Europe, and then over to the AFL, where, as you said, he's the all-time leading rusher in that league. Just great guest, great friend of the show. Glad we brought him back on. It was a good time bringing him on.
Yeah, both times we had him, he was a great guest. Like you said, he's very insightful, especially for a guy like you said who NFL maybe not dominated the NFL level, but made it to the NFL, which is more than they call them the 1%ers because 99% of the people in this world don't ever make it that far. But to be in the NFL, to go to NFL Europe and win Rookie of the Year MVP, to go to Canada, then to go to the AFL and become the all-time leading rusher in a game that didn't have a lot of rushing before he got there, to still be so down to earth and just ready to hop on with us at any time, we really appreciate him.
Oh, absolutely. So, with that being said, I think we need to jump into some Bears talk. That's one thing
Let's
we
do
haven't
it.
really had a
Let's
chance to
do
cover
it.
yet. So, obviously, there's quarterback rumors flying all around in the city of Chicago. The two quarterbacks everybody wants that we're going to trade the farm for, obviously, are Watson and Wilson. So, I guess with those two, Watson and Wilson, what would be your instinct if you have a choice between the two? Who would you go with and why?
I think that's a tricky question. I think there's a lot of layers to that. On the surface, give me Deshaun Watson. He's 25. He's the guy that all Bears fans' hearts were broken when they traded up. Everybody thought they were going to hear Deshaun Watson, and they heard Mitchell Trubisky, and everybody said, "Who? We traded up for him?" And then it turns out to watch him go to a team like Houston, who sometimes they've been good teams, and years like last year where they're not good teams, he still just seems to put up numbers no matter who's around him.
Oh
That's
yeah.
the guy. He's 25, but then you look at a guy like Russell Wilson. He's 32, but Russell Wilson's at the top of his game. I read
He
a
is.
story that says he spends over $1 million a year taking care of his body with chefs and two cryo chambers and just different things. I think Russell Wilson would be less. They talk about 3 first rounds, 2 second rounds, 2 defensive starters for Deshaun Watson. And from what we're hearing, teams have made major offers, and Houston really is just not done
Not
anything
willing.
about it. So if you can't get Deshaun Watson and you can get Russell Wilson, and he's cheaper than Deshaun Watson, by all means, do I go get Russell Wilson? Because if you put Russell Wilson on last year's Bears team, they're a Super Bowl contender. Regardless how the season ended, regardless everything, everyone will say Russell Wilson makes a team a Super Bowl contender. However, if you have to give up everything for a 32-year-old quarterback who's about to be 33, there are other options. Trey Lance is a guy that I think you could trade up and not have to give up much to trade up, or might even fall to you. Maybe not to 20, but if you can move up to 15 or even 12 with San Francisco, if you can move up and take a Trey Lance or Mac Jones. Is Mac Jones the guy? I don't know. Some people seem to think he's Tom Brady, but more mobile. It's really hard to tell, but the position Ryan Pace has put this team in, they have to do something. He's made it now where you can't continue to where you are. Now, maybe, Russ will be 33 next year. Maybe you use those draft picks this year and free agency and you fill out your entire team. You make sure that your team is as good as it can be, where all you are is a quarterback away. And next offseason, you go get Russell Wilson or whoever the next hot quarterback is that's going to be traded or moved out of their contract. One that I think the difference this year is because of COVID and everything that happened, a lot of players are going to be released and a lot of players are going to take team friendly 1-year contracts, whereas next year now you've got, maybe this year Russell Wilson says 4 teams, maybe next year it's 10 teams. So we've heard that they're willing to do whatever it takes. They can only trade 3 first-round picks unless it's done on draft day. You could technically trade
You
4.
can do 4.
So maybe that's what you do. But then it comes back to you. What do you think? Would you give up 4 first-round draft picks for a about to be 33-year-old quarterback?
Here's the thing. I really like Russell Wilson. I've watched him since he played college. I actually went to a couple college games up in Wisconsin when he was there. I've always liked Russ his entire career. Do I give up 3, potentially 4 first-round picks to bring him to Chicago? Absolutely. Do whatever you have to do to get this guy in a Chicago Bears uniform. And the reason that I say that is we have never had a quote-unquote generational talent at quarterback.
We had Jay Cutler.
we had Jay Cutler, and Jay Cutler wasn't bad. There's a lot of people in Chicago that gave Cutler way too hard of a time, and this city can be tough. These fans can be tough on a player, and that was definitely the case with Cutler. But,
Okay, so answer this. Putting you on the spot here.
okay.
You're running the Chicago Bears. You've got two choices and only two choices: Mitchell Trubisky or Jay Cutler. Not Jay Cutler this age. I mean, both in their prime, both able to play.
Without a doubt, I don't even think that's a question. You take Jay Cutler in a heartbeat.
Definitely, absolutely.
Mitch Trubisky is not the guy. He gave Bears fans way too much hope when he was out there chalking up the Jacksonville Jags defense, Houston's defense. But then you get him against a team that can make him think and make him go past his first, second read, and he panics. His throws become inconsistent. His footwork becomes horrible. And that's, if you don't have the fundamentals, if you don't have the brain, I guess, the IQ for high-level football, hitting that third and fourth read, which is what you need to be able to do at this level, it's not going to work out with you as a starter. Do I think Trubisky could be a serviceable backup somewhere in the league? Absolutely. Do I think that he's going to be a starter anywhere in the league? Probably not. So
let me ask you this: we're going to kind of go off course here a little bit, but where do you think it went wrong with Mitch? They went to the playoffs. Obviously, everybody remembers Cody Parkey with the double doink. Everybody was feeling great. Thought Mitch, okay, we got our guy. We gave up more than we wanted to, but Mitch is going to do it. He's going to be the guy that is that Bears franchise quarterback. Where do you think it went wrong, or why it went wrong after going so well that year?
Well, two things. First and foremost, that team was not 12-4 because of Mitch Trubisky. That team was where they were because of elite defensive play. That defense created over 20 turnovers that season, I believe.
Yeah.
And it's something that is very hard to replicate, that high level of defensive success. Obviously, we've seen the defense taper over the last couple seasons, so that's a major part of it. But the other side of that coin is coaching. Matt Nagy is supposed to be this offensive guru. That's what he was billed as when he came to Chicago. He was, coming from the Andy Reid tree, he was going to be so successful, so offensive-minded, do things that we hadn't done in Chicago before. And he did. It turns out he decided to only run the ball 7 times in a game, which was the lowest rushing we've ever had in a game in Chicago Bears history. But when it comes down to Matt Nagy and Mitch Trubisky, it was very evident, especially last season, that relationship just wasn't one that worked. A good coach, in my opinion, plays to a player's strengths, right? You tailor to that player. You run more bootlegs. You run more play action. You put simpler, first and second read success-oriented plays out there for that quarterback. And Matt Nagy didn't do that. He brought out his offense 2.0 after the playoff run, and Mitch Trubisky just didn't have the mentality for it. He didn't have, as harsh as it is to say, he didn't have the brain behind the helmet to play at the level that Matt Nagy wanted him to play at. And if you're a good coach at that point, in my opinion, you move on. You scrap what you've got, say, okay, it's not working. Let's get something in here that works for my quarterback. And you never saw that. You saw it at times towards the end of last season once Bill Lazor was calling the plays. But I honestly don't think Bill Lazor was ever exclusively calling the plays. I think it was a 60-40 mix between him and Matt Nagy, because I don't think for 1 minute that Bill Lazor would call a fucking tight end sweep on the goal line when your running back got you all the way in the red zone.
So I agree with a lot of what you said. I think you made a lot of really good points, but I disagree with some of it too. I think everybody is real quick to blame Matt Nagy. if you're calling an offense and I said, well, you've got a quarterback who sucks and can't read through the second read and can't do different things. Well, how are you supposed to run your offense if you don't have a quarterback who can run it? And if you can't run your offense, well, that's what you were brought to do. So then everybody says,
But
well,
hold on. With that, you have to be able to run the football in the NFL, and Matt Nagy has
did you not
never
see the
done that
offensive line
effectively.
getting pushed back 3 yards on every play? How do you run the ball if the first step your running back takes is in the back of your offensive line?
I understand what you're saying, but personally, I think that David Montgomery is, aside from Allen Robinson, the best player we have offensively. And we had Jordan Howard when Matt Nagy came to Chicago, who was the number 2 rusher in the league behind Ezekiel Elliott the year prior. And he wanted to deal him out of town so quick because
And what has Jordan Howard done since he left, since they traded him? He's been on 4 different teams.
Obviously, he's regressed. I'm not saying that he hasn't regressed since he left Chicago, but at the time that he was in Chicago, he was number 2 in the league the season before Matt Nagy came here. I think Matt Nagy's running back utilization is just something that's been atrocious through his stint here in Chicago, and I get
everybody knew that before they hired him as a head coach. They lost in Kansas City because he stopped running the ball with Kareem Hunt in the second half of that AFC Championship game. He's never been a run guy. Everybody says, well, we got Matt Nagy, we want the Kansas City offense. You're getting it. Kansas City runs the ball 7 times a game, 10 times a game. Nobody complains then when they win. It's only when the Bears lose and everybody's like, oh, well, it's Matt Nagy. They didn't run the ball enough. Well, that's not who he is. Never who he's going to be.
They do that effectively. The issue is, as a coach, you tailor to your players. You tailor to what works. So if you realize your quarterback's not capable of throwing 50 times a game, scale it back. Only have him throw 25, 30 times a game. And I get what you're saying. That's what he was. That is what he was brought to do.
I blame Mitchell Trubisky. And yeah, you got to blame Matt Nagy a little bit, but I blame Mitchell Trubisky and I blame Ryan Pace. It's a disgrace that Ryan Pace is still employed to the Chicago Bears. He single-handedly screwed up so many picks. He screwed up the trading up for Mitchell Trubisky because he wanted to pound on his chest and say, I know better than everybody else. This is my guy. Everybody wanted to run John Fox out of town. John Fox said, go get Deshaun Watson. It was Ryan Pace that said, oh, I really want Mitchell Trubisky. Then Ryan Pace is the one that went out and hired Matt Nagy. Matt Nagy, and it's public record for his scouting he did for Pro Football Focus or whoever it was for, that Matt Nagy said that Mitchell Trubisky is the ultimate project quarterback. Well, if he called him the ultimate project quarterback, why was that the guy that you got to pair him with? How did you think that was going to go well? He himself told you he's no good. So now all you've done is put the franchise 3 years behind because you felt like you were the smartest guy in the room.
You see the comment we got coming across the screen there?
I do. I'm killing Ryan Pace.
I can't answer that. Come on, guys.
My thing is, I'm excited to see Mitch leave. I hope somebody signs him so there's no chance he comes back here. Everybody said coming out he was the most accurate quarterback in the draft. So I understand what they saw, but I don't understand why they felt he was the only viable option that they could win with. And Ryan Pace, by moving up to number 2 from 3 and giving up everything he did, he's telling you, I cannot afford to be stuck with Deshaun Watson or Patrick Mahomes. And now the problem is we've been stuck with Mitchell Trubisky.
Right. And as far as the Pace move goes, we took that one spot from who? San Francisco? San Francisco didn't want Mitchell Trubisky.
No, they took
he wasn't even on their board. Thomas? Yeah. He wasn't even on their board. So
no.
Of course you don't know that. Hindsight's 2020, but to move up one spot to take a guy when you still have Patrick Mahomes and Deshaun Watson on the board, absolutely horrible pick. Horrible.
Yeah, especially when you find out, he didn't go to Deshaun Watson's pro day. He didn't interview him. None of that. He at least went to Patrick Mahomes' pro day, but that was it. Obviously, he didn't see enough to know that the kid can throw the football. And again, I go back to Matt Nagy. Matt Nagy said he ranked the three of them: Patrick Mahomes, Deshaun Watson, Mitchell Trubisky. You've heard Andy Reid talk about he had to tell Matt Nagy, stop sending me clips of Patrick Mahomes. We get it. He's really good. We're going to take him. And they were smart enough. They moved up to get him. I was listening to ESPN 1000. They were talking, they had Sean Payton on, and he was talking about that year. They were going to take either Patrick Mahomes or Marshawn Lattimore, and they were at number 11. They said, we like both of them. Whoever was at 9, they went a different direction. Both were there. They said, we're cool either way. We want one of those two. And he said before they could decide if they were going to trade up to make sure they got Mahomes, before they could decide what they were going to do, it came in that there was a trade. And when he heard it was Kansas City, he said, Andy Reid just got Patrick Mahomes. We just had a watcher ask, should the Bears go after Janoris Jenkins? Absolutely not. Janoris Jenkins keeps bouncing from team to team to team. The only thing that hits harder than him bouncing from team is how hard he gets beat every single play. Janoris Jenkins is like Prince Amukamara. The Bears are really good, and Bears fans too are really good at going out, and we want guys who are 5 years. We should have got 5 years ago. We did it with Orlando Pace. We did it with Julius Peppers. We did it with a lot of guys. We say, oh, this is the guy we wanted 3 years ago, so we could actually get him now. And we get him, and we just pay him a shit ton of money to then cut him 2 years from now. That's just, I don't know, maybe you want Janoris Jenkins, but I don't.
I'm torn on that one. I think there's a reason that he keeps moving from team to team. At this point, I think we have more important needs to address than whether we sign Janoris Jenkins or not.
You drafted Jalen Johnson in the first round, or in the early in the draft, I believe it was a 3rd round pick. You drafted Jalen Johnson. You have Kyle Fuller. You're paying Kyle Fuller $24 million a year for some ungodly reason, which I still haven't been able to figure out. We're paying him $24 million for 1 interception a year. You could go out there and get at least 2. Fat Mike could get 1.
I'm a big Kyle Fuller fan, man. The kid plays hard. He doesn't always come up with the numbers as far as picks and things like that go, but
what is he
million? Yeah, it's a little steep. Maybe they can get him to restructure.
You look at Xavier Howard in Miami is getting paid a fraction of that when you compare $24 million, and he's leading the league in interceptions 2 years in a row. You got Kyle Fuller. His best year was when the Bears had a dominant defense and quarterbacks just had to fling the ball so they wouldn't get sacked. And yeah, he could jump around then, but when he's got to line up on a guy and go man to man, guys are beating him. You see these corners, and the story is always, is Jalen Ramsey going to shadow DeAndre Hopkins? Is Marshawn Lattimore going to stay with somebody? Is Denzel Ward going to shadow somebody? All these different guys. Never do you hear, well, is Kyle Fuller going to shadow this guy? Even Richard Sherman at 36 years old or 35 years old, whatever, is still, people say, well, is he going to shadow them down? He limits what they could do. Nobody's worried about Kyle Fuller. Nobody's worried about them lining up against the Bears and say, well, we can't throw to this guy because Kyle Fuller is going to be on him. Kyle Fuller plays 7 yards off of every receiver, even when it's 3rd and 1.
I do understand the point there. I think a lot of that was the defense, the schemes that were being thrown out there last year. We played coverage way too soft all across the board. Chuck Pagano, was quoted saying that he was putting all bullets in the gun, letting out all stops, and then he went out and played 5, 6, 7 yards off every play.
He must have left that gun in his bag.
Didn't blitz, was nowhere near, not even a quarter as aggressive as he stated he would be throughout the entire season. I'm personally happy that we moved on from Pagano.
I like the hire. I like the hire they made. I think we're going to see a lot more of that Vic Fangio defense we saw before.
Yeah, Desai has done a little bit of everything for that defense under Fangio, so I'm excited to see what the defense does. We got a question here. What about Kyle Long coming back? I don't think Kyle Long would ever come back to the Bears, but I wish him the best. he hates Nagy. He hates the staff that's in place in Chicago. But if he goes somewhere else and succeeds for a couple years, good for him.
Yeah, I think you nailed that. I mean, any interviews he gives, he never pulls any punches. Pulls any punches when it comes to the Bears. He's very critical. He doesn't believe Matt Nagy's an NFL head coach. Other than that, Kyle Long made a shit ton of money from the Bears for a quarter of a season, half a season, without ever being able to stay healthy. You got James Daniels, you got Whitehair and Sam Mustipher, Alex Bars, guys that you can at least go into battle with. At this point, I don't see where Kyle Long fits into the Bears. And Kyle Long's not coming back to play for the NFL minimum. He's not going to play for $1 million or $2 million. He's going to want $7-8 million, and that was the problem they had with him in the first place.
So
we had a question before that, and I'm going to put you on the spot here and make you answer it first, because
go ahead.
So somebody said, opening day 2021, who's the Bears starting quarterback?
You want the hopeful answer, or you want what I think is the truth?
I want give me both. Give me the hopeful first. Give me the rainbows and sunshine first.
So the rainbow and sunshine answer is obviously Russell Wilson. There's a lot of things at play, a lot of moves to make that happen. Seattle is unhappy with him. We heard our guys on ESPN 1000 talk about that over the last couple days. It's a relationship that's deteriorating quickly. So I say all rainbows and sunshine, pull out all stops, go get Russ, and you're instantly a playoff contender. You're instantly almost a Super Bowl contender with Russell Wilson as your quarterback immediately.
And now the heartbreaking reality?
Heartbreaking reality, Nick Foles. Week one, Nick Foles is our starting quarterback. And I'll tell you why. I think that realistically, if we don't go out, we don't secure a guy like Russ, I'm not even going to put Watson on the table because they're taking no calls for him in Texas. They've said that he's their future, he's their guy. Which is more likely? We got a question in the chat. I think that the Nick Foles scenario is more likely. I think that we're going to go out and we're going to do what we need to do to draft a quarterback. I think a guy like Mac Jones or a guy like Trey Lance is definitely reachable for the Bears. I think they go out and get one of those guys and try to do a little bit of building around the offensive line. The issue is only having one pick in the first, you're not going to get a quality offensive tackle. And really, you need two offensive tackles. That interior line is solid, but obviously Massey's out of town. You need to get rid of Charles Leno too. That guy flops around on the field more than any tackle I've ever seen in my life. The guys that don't actually watch football think he's great, but I just don't see it. When you watch the tape, you break him down, you see all the whiffs that Charles Leno's consistently getting beat out there on the field. You got to get two tackles. So you go get a couple tackles somehow, whether that's in free agency or if you manage to grab somebody who's decent in the second round. I think you build the offensive line, and realistically, we're going to see Nick Foles start while we try to mentor a young quarterback.
So I think rainbows and sunshine, I'm all in on Deshaun Watson for everything we talked about earlier. He's 25 years old. He's a franchise quarterback. He does it all. I think at some point, and maybe that's the draft, maybe it's after the draft, Houston finally has to just deal him. You'd think they'd be a little smarter and deal him before because you've got more suitors than when people start drafting quarterbacks. Realistically, I think Nick Foles is your opening day starter for a lot of the same reasons you said. The Bears have a lot of holes to fill without a lot of draft picks, without a lot of cap. Yes. Now, cutting Charles Leno, great way to start getting some cap space back. I would cut Charles Leno. I would cut Jimmy Graham. I would restructure Eddie Jackson, and I would extend Akeem Hicks. Akeem Hicks has 1 year left. He's got this year, and
Right.
then he's a free agent. You just saw it in Tampa with Tom Brady. You give him a 4-year deal. You void 2 to 3 of the years. It creates instant cap space. Tom Brady just saved Tampa $19 million by doing the same thing. You do
But
that
is
to
Akeem Hicks worth that? Is he worth
Are you not going to
extending in
re-sign him
Chicago?
after this year? Are you not going to re-sign him?
Honestly, I'm going to deal him.
What are you going to get for him? He's 31 years old, and he's a free agent next year. If you don't trade him this year, you're not going to be able to deal him.
That's true. He is
So
a
do
free
you let him?
agent after this
So
year.
do you
But
let him walk away, or do you just extend him now and lower your 2021 cap number for him? Now you're paying him $7 million or $6 million this year instead of 10.2. And then, as far as the tackles, I take Tariq Cohen, and I'd love to hear what you think about this. I take Tariq Cohen. I take Miller, Anthony Miller, and I take our 3rd round draft pick, and I send it to Baltimore for Orlando Brown Jr. He's 24 years old. He looked great at left tackle this year, albeit a lot of people have their concerns that, it's a run first offense. He doesn't have to pass block. I still got to take my chances. He's 24 years old. And if I can get my franchise left tackle without having to use my 1st or 2nd round draft pick to do it, Tariq Cohen is a gadget guy that never turned out to be anything. They all thought he was Tariq Hill, and he's nothing like it. Anthony Miller, I'm tired of watching Anthony Miller run the wrong routes and dropping the football when he does get open, and then getting into fights when they just told him all week, don't get into a fight with this guy. Darnell Mooney is already better than Anthony Miller after 1 year.
110%. I agree with you on that. Darnell Mooney has shown that he's an emerging star. He may not be a number 1, but he's a hell of a good number 2. And I'm happy to have a guy like Mooney on the other side of the field with, of course, our number 1 out there that's very vocal about hating the franchise tag, Allen Robinson. But I like it. I like the take. I would definitely package Tariq Cohen in a heartbeat. Again, you said he's a gadget guy. We have too many gadget guys on this team. We've got Cordero Patterson, who for some reason we think when David Montgomery's running the ball great, we put Cordero Patterson in the backfield. Again, coaching negligence is just as much at fault for the Bears' offensive woes as the mediocre quarterback play. I think it's 50-50, but everybody has their opinion, right? That's why we're here. So
I absolutely agree with you. I think, man, it's been a great show. We're going to take a second here. We're going to show you a sponsor from one of our sponsors, an ad from one of our sponsors, Nick and Ivy. And when we come back, we'll have our final word for you guys.
Hello, this is Paul from Nick and Ivy Brewing Company. We are located at 1026 South State Street in historic downtown Lockport, Illinois. We are very excited to be partnering up with the Fat Mike Chicago Sports Show as well as the 1252 brand because we are one of the few Chicagoland breweries that embrace sports and sports culture. Come in for a fresh brewed beer made right here in Lockport while catching the game of your favorite team. Stay for the live music that we have booked every weekend. Or just come for a cozy atmosphere to enjoy a good conversation with a friend, loved one, or complete stranger. Nick and Ivy makes you feel right at home no matter what the occasion is. Follow us on Instagram and Facebook by searching for Nick and Ivy Brewing Company. Visit our website for our up-to-date tap list or to go shopping on our online store at nickivybrewing.com. That's Nikivy brewing.com. Come in today for fresh brewed beer born and raised in Lockport, Illinois.
So that was a quick word from our sponsor, Nick and Ivy Brewing. Man, I got to make it up there and get me some beer.
Man, it makes me thirsty every time I see that ad.
Oh, absolutely. Made the beer I'm drinking shameful.
Especially it got that new People's Elbow came out today.
Yeah, excited to try that. I'm going to have to make my way over there for sure.
Yeah, definitely going to have to make that a priority. So it's another great show. We had a great guest in Derrick Ross. Thought he gave us a lot of really good behind the scenes, a lot of things that we don't, you don't know about just reading about him.
Right.
We've had some good talk here. So I think what better way to end a show? A little rapid fire. No explanation needed. Just yes or no. I'm going to go through the list. You tell me if they make the playoffs. Do the Bears make the playoffs?
Yes.
Cubs?
No.
White Sox?
Yes.
Blackhawks.
Yes.
Bulls.
Yes.
Ooh, I like it. So everybody but the Cubs. Breaking my heart.
I love my Cubs, man, but I just don't think they have enough. They don't have enough players this year. They don't have enough pieces to make a playoff run. If they do, it's going to be an early exit. And again, you said no explanation needed, but
Right.
I think
No,
that's the case with a couple Chicago teams. So
absolutely. Well, we want to thank everybody for tuning in to another episode of Turtles Take. We had a great time. We'll be here again next Friday, 7:00. Hopefully you guys can all make sure you see us. And Wednesday, we will be having a live show for the Fat Mike Show. You want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, our guy Fat Mike's got a venue in Hickory Hills lined up. I believe the place is called the Sock, if that's correct. Gonna have a couple big names joining us, and it's gonna be a good time. Definitely join us for that. Join us live on the stream. We'll have a few of the 1252 guys out there as well. Fred Hubner from ESPN 1000 is going to be there. It's set to be a huge show, along with David Schuster. So really good talk going to be coming up there. We'll talk a lot of topics with those guys here in the Chicago sports. Two staples of Chicago sports for a long time in those guys. So we're really happy to have them coming on the network. Should be a lot of fun. So definitely check out Mike's show Wednesday night to see that at 7:00. Want to give a big thank you to Derrick Ross jumping on with us again. Like I said, very insightful, very smart guy. Gave us a lot of different perspective. We also want to thank our sponsors, Nick and Ivy Brewing. If you get the chance to make it out to see them, please do. And we also want to thank John Darren and his team over there at the Coldwell Banker Real Estate Group, as well as Derrick Ross's partner there, Mr. CBD Chicago. We appreciate everybody that's taken the time to come join us tonight. And like you said, check out the Fat Mike Chicago Sports Show Wednesday night at 7:00. And come join me and Vince here next Friday at 7 p.m. We'll be chalking it up again. So thanks, everybody. We appreciate it.
Can't wait, everybody. Thank you so much.
Take care, everyone.